Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and Master Certified Life Coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today we're talking about your own personal top 10 days of the year list and some meaningful connection. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle, where we talk about how to get unstuck, clear, and excited about your next chapter, especially if you're over 50 and feeling like life is just way too precious to keep waiting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your Master Certified Coach and Midlife Mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again. So here we are, the end of one year and the beginning of another. Can you believe it? I wanted to share a quote with you by an unknown author for additional inspiration for the show today. Every year you make a resolution to change yourself. This year, make a resolution to be yourself. I love this quote so much. The importance of being authentic and being present. I think you'll see how important this is to you when you begin immersing yourself in reflecting on the past year and what brought you a ton of joy. This quote is perfect for today because of the topic I want to coach you on. It's about specifically starting a new midlife tradition for New Year's. One that's meaningful and fun on a couple of levels. Today we're talking about how to create your own personal top 10 list, highlighting the top 10 days of your year. This episode is about those top 10 days of the year in 6 simple steps. And I have a theory that you're likely deep into being yourself when you're actually having a top 10 day. That's when you're being super present, connecting, and in flow. You're probably very much being yourself. Think about it. I'd love to get your thoughts on this after you go through the top 10 days yourself, like after you reflect and come up with your list. Think about, were you super present? Were you connected or connecting? And were you in flow? But just quick, before we dive into this fun topic, I have a question for you. It's a classic question for a woman in the middle. Do you know that you're meant for more, but are frustrated that you just aren't clear about what more is for you? Seriously, I've heard this story so many times, and it was the same for me too. My stuck state of affairs happened between 45 and 50, and I'm 62 right now. I knew in my heart of hearts that I needed a change. I knew it, but I had never been so unclear about what the heck I was supposed to be doing in my life. Now, one of the things that gets in the way is all those decades of putting others first, doing whatever they need, thinking about what they need, stepping up to help. It's a lot of extra bandwidth and energy, and it's probably just who you are and how you've been rolling. But it's probably also time for you to start connecting with some of your own priorities too. Think about that. How can you even understand what you want when you don't spend time thinking about it and focusing on it? So clarity about your priorities has probably become murky. When you get more comfortable focusing on what you want, things usually start to change, and the rewards are huge. What would it be like not to worry about being an autopilot people pleaser so that you felt comfortable with others about what you really want or how you really feel? What would it be like to be clear about what you wanted in your next chapter rather than feeling a bit bored about doing the same stuff over and over again, year after year? And what would it be like to feel peaceful and fulfilled about how you're showing up and what you're focusing on in your life, and know that you're doing what you want to do and what you're meant to do? My friend, if you resonate with these examples, that's just a little taste of what you get when you join the Women in the Middle Academy. That's where I help women over 50 embrace their gift of aging with clarity, confidence, and joy, and stop wasting time feeling stuck. For real. We really do this. The Women in the Middle Academy is a hybrid one-year community and group coaching experience that can help you figure out what you want and then feel comfortable and courageous enough to pursue it. It's a guided experience to regret-proof your life. Being in the midlife coaching space now for over 10 years, I know what works. Academy members have told me that it's like having a safe place to land, with great coaching and like-minded women who you can trust and be vulnerable with while you're actually growing forward. This is all a critical part of being happier and more fulfilled in midlife. And it's not as hard as it seems, but it can be hard to imagine when you feel so stuck. So if working together has been something you've been thinking about or even curious about, please reach out and get your questions answered. As you know all too well, life is short, and it's important to stop living like time doesn't matter, because it does. Let's talk about it and see if we're a good fit. Plus, now's the perfect time to get in on the new bonuses. Book your fun, free, and no-obligation Zoom call, and I'll tell you all about them. Next year can be way better and way different than this year, but you have to take some action. I would love to be your midlife coach and help you feel more peaceful and excited about your future. So head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com and book your momentum call. I have a feeling that you know it's time. Looking forward to seeing your name in my calendar. All right, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is inspired by a fun and meaningful New Year's tradition and two interesting men, believe it or not. So you may recall virtually meeting the first one way back in episode 78 on a show about traditions and celebrations, and he is my uncle, Bob Schneeweiss. And the second man, well, you're going to know this name, but you probably don't know him personally. It's David Letterman. So let's dig in. I interviewed my uncle, who did an amazing job of celebrating life with really fun, sentimental, and meaningful traditions. And like I said, that person was my Uncle Bob. I'll put a link in the show notes to that interview, of course, because you're going to want to listen to it. It was terrific. I'd been watching him do this sort of thing for years, and I was really blown away by it. He would celebrate little things like playing backgammon with his wife, who was my aunt, and keeping track of the winners of significant games on a Friendly's Fribble Cup. If you don't know what Friendly's is, it was an ice cream place on the East Coast, and they had a drink called Fribble, and they kept the cup and they made labels, and it was always alive and well on the top of the fridge. And it was a big deal. It was so fun to watch. He would also celebrate bigger things like the 50th anniversary of his graduation from the University of Miami. And he would celebrate with all kinds of stuff. All this university stuff. It was around the house for a week, like, little pom-poms and stuff. And he even dug out his senior ring and wore that too. But the one thing I watched him do for many years is the thing I want to share with you today. It's about making your personal top 10 list as part of your New Year's tradition. And it's not just any old list. It's inspired by David Letterman. This list has personal significance because it's about your top 10 days of the year. Now, this idea has a hidden surprise to it, and I'll share that in a few minutes. So as great as you can already tell that the top 10 day thing is, it's even better. It's a terrific way to close out the year and get ready for the new year. Okay, so here's how this idea works. I've broken it down into 6 simple steps. Step number 1 is to identify your top days of the year. So go back and think about the year. Look at your calendar. Think about where you went, what you did, who you saw. Think about different parts of your life too. Your family, your friends, your work, your play, your projects, all the things. So start making this list, but don't vet the list just yet. This step is about the top days. So don't worry about how many of them you have, and don't worry about which ones were the best. I just want you to, really think carefully and go through this however you think will really help you remember the good ones, and write them down. Just get all the remarkable days for whatever reason, because it's personal after all. Get all of the good ones on the list. So you might want to start by going month by month. After you do that, you may want to think about seasons or events or vacations or projects, just to help you jog your memory. If you keep a journal, even better, or a detailed calendar, that's the best. Whatever works for you, make the list. Okay, step number 2 is to identify the people who were involved in these top days. So just go back to your list and add the names next to each top day. Now, there's a really important reason for this, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes, but it is super fun to think about all of these people being part of your life like this. It's just such a fun way to remember the year. Now, step number 3 is to take a close look at your list and think about why you chose these specific days. Now, this is a fun little step because you're likely to smile the whole time and you'll start to see patterns. You'll start to see what you really love to do, what you really love to experience, and you'll gain insight into what you really cherish. Now, I know you probably have an urge to skip this step, but I really want to encourage you to just take a couple of minutes and notice something deeper about why you picked it. Why did this remarkable day make your list? Now, this information will also be super useful for you next year, and I'll tell you more about that in a couple of minutes. Step number 4 is to narrow down your list to the top 10 days. So now that you've really taken a look at some of the highlights for you in the last year, go ahead and whittle the list down and have your David Letterman moment. Now, it's really interesting to note that my uncle never did top 10 in terms of, getting down to the number 1 top day. And he also didn't ever publish his list. He liked to keep that to himself. But you can do whatever you want. I just wanted to share it because it was his idea, so I just want to share how he did it. Okay, now you might think you're done. But wait, there's more. Step number 5 is to contact those people who were involved in one of your top days and express gratitude. Now, how fun is this? You don't even have to be specific. You can just reach out and tell them generally that they were involved in one of your remarkable days of the year. Or, if you want, you could take the opportunity to be more personal. It's totally up to you. Wait until you see the reaction you get from this. It is so great. So there you go, the first 5 steps to the top 10 days of the year exercise. But you may also remember that I said that there were 6 steps. The 6th step is about what you can do to make more top days in the future. Step number 6 is about how to amplify your experience when you feel a top 10 day coming on. So here's the thing. Sometimes you can actually sense a top 10 day coming on. You can feel it, especially when you know how to think about it. And that's the point of talking about it now, as a reminder that the way you show up in the moment can really affect your experience. So if you sense that something amazing is happening or about to happen, you can actually lean into it more. You can actively amplify its power. The way you think, the way you relax, the way you engage, the way you're aware, the way you smile, the way you're present. And when this happened to me, it didn't happen to me until I spoke to my uncle about it. So when I interviewed him on the podcast originally, he explained this and I was fascinated by it. And then a few months after that interview, it happened. I happened to be on a whale watch, and you're thinking, but Susie, if you're in a whale watch, you're probably going to have a top 10 day. And for me, that's true. But it felt different. And all I can tell you is it was kind of like a slow motion sizzle. It had energy because I was made aware that amplification was even a possibility. Like, that idea was completely new to me. And I was really present. And it just occurred to me with that sizzle that there was like energy to it, energy to the awareness. It's hard to explain. But I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a top 10 day. And I have the ability, I have the power to focus on it, to make it bigger, to amplify it. And I did. I just kind of relaxed into it. I smiled more. I was much more observant about what was going on. It was amazing. And I also am going to make reference to this in the show notes because I did do an episode about talking about how to amplify. But anyway, in the nutshell, that's what happened to me. There was kind of an energetic sizzle to the awareness and then some glee. Like, I felt tingly with excitement that I knew I had the power to amplify it. So I really want to leave you with that. So remember, this amplification can come from lots of different ways. The way you think, the way you're aware, the way you smile, the way you're present and in the moment, the way you relax, the way you engage, and so on. And these are the types of ways that you can amplify your experience, whatever it is, and be intentional about making it even more memorable and amazing. So there you have it, 6 steps to identify and enjoy your top days of the year more and more. This whole top 10 day thing is an amazing way to celebrate joy on purpose. This is the kind of tradition that I can really get behind. You know, for New Year's, I don't want to go out. I don't want to find parking. I don't want to get dressed up. I don't want to deal with crowds. I don't want to stay up late. I love the idea of having something memorable and meaningful to do in my house. Or you could do it with a group, like if you had a dinner party or something. It doesn't need to be something you do alone, but you may want to do something alone. Actually, I do it at my desk because I want to look at my Google Calendar, and then I want to give myself some time to really think about the year, because not everything gets written down in a calendar. And I don't have a journal like that, but if you do, it'll really help. Anyway, I think this is an amazing tradition for New Year's, and I wonder what you think. I hope you like it. I hope it inspires you. And you know what? If you are inspired, I would love to hear about it. Just reach out and let me know. Let me know about one of your top 10 days. Let me know if you were inspired about amplification. I really think there's so much to this idea, and I can't wait to hear from you. All right, that's it for today's Encore episode. I hope you feel inspired to reflect on and feel grateful for some pretty good times in your life. Now, I thought you might be interested in one of my top 10 days last year. Unfortunately, I have to say I had a really rough year, so I had to do some serious thinking about this, and one memory came right up. It had to do with kayaking and my best friend Karen. Have you kayaked lately? Well, let's just say that getting into the kayak is still manageable, but getting out? Not so much, at least for me. Paddling around the lake was fine, had a good time, I got in okay, I took pictures, it was relaxing. But in this case, a lot of the adventure and hilarity happened at the end when it was time to exit the kayak. Sometimes a top 10 day can surprise you. Have fun with your top 10 days. It is so worth it to make the list. Thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. My focus as your regret-proofing midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. It's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. I know you crave it. So reach out if you would like to talk about coaching together. I've got several options that might be a good fit for you, especially the Women in the Middle Academy. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's also something your future self will be grateful for. So head over to www.talktosusie.com. Also, there's a new midlife quiz in town. It's waiting for you as well. If you want to discover what's been keeping you stuck and learn what your future self really wants, go to www.midlifequiz.com. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 439. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.